I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 151 of the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Carolyn Solo. Today, I want to talk more about something I haven't talked about that much recently, and that's direct networking. Yes, networking. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this today is because I've been seeing a lot of people, other therapists, other private practice coaches, even people in sort of aligned fields, but not necessarily therapists, talking about how much more important networking is becoming, again, in building a steady stream of private pay clients. And I think this is even more true for intensives. I've been hearing people talk about, the quote, good old days of the pandemic. I mean, there were a lot of terrible things, but I think some people have had the experience that building their practice was a lot easier. 2021, you could just get an EHR and a Zoom account and throw up any old website, a couple of posts on social media, and boom, you were full. I mean, maybe it wasn't that easy, but that's how people talk about it. I'm not sure that's ever been true for intensives, frankly, but I'm certainly, just in general, seeing more and more about how vital it is to have collegial connections who can be referral sources for you. And that message is being repeated, across all platforms by private practice coaches. I'm seeing it everywhere. I think the message really is that human connection is more valuable than ever in this world where AI is becoming more and more ever present. And certainly, I think we're all still reeling from the aftermath of COVID. I mean, obviously, the ramifications from COVID will be with us for generations, but human connection beyond a screen matters so much. And this is also something else I've been seeing people say is it's so important to have a in-person office if you're at all considering it, because people are looking for that actively, and it does help with SEO and AIO to have an in-person location. Amanda Bedoras talked about that a few episodes ago. So yeah, prioritizing in person is huge. So human connections with clients and with referral sources. So yeah, can you make some connections that you actually meet someone for coffee in your town who's another practitioner? And Zoom is still an absolutely valid and great option. As long as you're seeing someone, talking to someone in real time. I think there's something so wonderful about the actual sitting down with a person live, your bodies in the same space. Those interactions I think are memorable and lasting, but not always possible. But I just think we're seeing this return to how important that is and how much people are valuing it. So that's why I wanted to touch on networking a little. I think it's a big old lie in private practice that a beautiful website and consistent social media posting is automatically going to bring in a boatload of clients. And I think this is certainly not the case for those 4 to 6K intensive clients. You might get a few, but a steady stream, you're not going to. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But one of them is that high ticket services like intensives require high trust marketing. And algorithms aren't going to build trust in the same way that a personal referral will. Networking is a huge piece of this puzzle. It's the most direct, efficient, and ethical way to consistently attract high fee intensive clients. It's the necessary alternative to social media for EMDR therapists who are focused on intensives, on that deep specialized work. I think social media can still be part of the package. I've talked about this a lot, sort of part of your marketing ecosystem, part of your funnel. And it's a great way to connect with other therapists, to other opportunities, a lot of great things about social media, but it does not do it all, especially for intensives. You aren't necessarily going to bring in enough intensive clients from social media to keep your calendar as full as you'd like it to be or need it to be. And again, I'm sure there's some exceptions to this, but I think that a solid local referral network goes so far. And you're just not going to get enough clients from social media to be as full as you want to be. And when I say full, I mean you're making enough money, not you're working 30 hours a week. Okay, not that kind of full. And yeah, a website is vital. It's the other half of what you need to do to get high ticket intensive clients besides networking. You got to have top-notch SEO and AIO. That's going to bring in some intensive clients if you're doing it really well. I booked 2 in the past couple of months this way, people who found my website and reached out from several states away to travel to me for an intensive. But by far, my best source of intensive clients comes from referrals. Those people know that they want an intensive, they know they want me, and the trust is already there. And I know that since I have a really strong network in the Philadelphia area still, I'm still going to get some referrals from that area and people end up traveling to me. And because I've been doing a lot of in-person networking locally, I'm getting more and more Vermont-ish, New England area clients due to that strong networking. So I'm doing it a lot, okay? Many years in. So networking is such a vital marketing strategy for intensives. You can still do some of that, maybe more traditional, like, less active forms of marketing, flyers, business cards, hoping that people know you exist because you have a sign on the road. Those things aren't obsolete entirely, but I don't know if you have to do any of them, honestly, but they're obsolete. They can help, but they aren't active and dynamic enough on their own to make enough of a dent to get the number of referrals you want. A lot of the therapists I work with are looking to get 1 intensive a month or 2 intensives a month. You're not going to get 24 intensives a year from handing out business cards, leaving a stack in a coffee shop. High ticket marketing, because that's what we're talking about, focuses on building reciprocal referral relationships with other professionals who trust your clinical expertise and who are going to continue to trust it as you build over time. This is a much better use of time than constantly trying to generate organic reach online, which again isn't optional, but it often isn't enough, right? Organic reach online in terms of a website, that's not optional. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that networking often has to be the other complementary approach. All right, so who should you be networking with? You really want to be thinking specifically about the types of professionals who see your ideal intensive client and who are ready to refer to you. I think other EMDR therapists are great, especially those who don't offer intensives or who like to do ongoing work or who have different niche specialties than you. They're going to be warm leads. There's also just other therapists, period, who don't do EMDR and have a stuck client. Maybe if you operate in the same niche, that's a great person to network with. Other specialty clinicians, some great referral sources that I connect with are anyone working in the perinatal or maternal mental health field. I also work a lot with victims of sexual trauma, so I have some connections with other mental health providers who work in that area. I also work with parents of neurodivergent kids, as you probably heard me talk about. And so I connect a lot with speech pathologists, occupational therapists, and therapists who work with kids, and certainly psychiatrists. Do not forget psychiatrists, or don't omit psychiatrists, because I still feel like there's this imposter syndrome, this hierarchy that can get in the way of contacting psychiatrists. Like, certainly there may be some who do come across that way. But just because someone is a psychiatrist or a psychiatric nurse practitioner does not mean that they are not going to value what you do. They're not going to be very grateful to have a connection like you. You kind of have to get that out of your head. And if you have about a couple bad interactions with someone, well, then you move on. That's not about you and your expertise and what do these people think about therapists. It's about, whatever, it's their stuff. So you will find, and if you have a couple psychiatrists or psychiatric nurse practitioners with whom you have a really strong relationship, it's going to go really far. And a lot of these providers are already working with clients who have some more resources, who might find an intensive accessible, and who would see the value in like specialized accelerated care. And yeah, remember, you don't have to be looking inside in behavioral wellness, right? That's weird. I've never used that phrase or haven't in a long time. Like massage therapists, I talk with pediatricians, concierge medical practice doctors, OBGYNs, so many options. Any kind of like naturopath, anything like that, acupuncturists, all those people are going to be really, really, really helpful in getting some of these referrals. So that's who you should be networking with. And I know there's mindset blocks here, okay? If you're thinking networking is awkward, or I don't have time to network, or I'm too shy. I don't want to be salesy. You are avoiding the single most powerful activity that will future-proof your high ticket practice, okay? You don't want to do this kind of work, the referral networking work. It might be really hard to maintain the flow of intensive referrals and consultations that you need to keep booking, okay? And something else, remember, you want to be maintaining these relationships, okay? If you meet somebody once and it's great, send them a follow-up email, check in a few months later, like don't let it be one and done. I met with someone a few days ago, a couple of things we chatted about. I sent them a few podcast episodes that I had listened to that were about the same topic. You know, those are all really easy and valuable ways to stay connected. And you're a therapist, you're building a relationship. That's one of the things we're best at. It actually becomes enjoyable once you sort of get really used to it, okay? And no networking is too small. That's what I want to say too. You never know. Even meeting with a current grad student who wants some guidance can pay off in the future, or someone who's still, in their EMDR training. I've had situations like this where a couple of years down the line, this has benefited me. So certainly don't overload yourself in terms of time, but if there's something about this person that you think, yeah, like we're interested in similar things, this is an interesting like clinical relationship or professional relationship for me, pursue it, go for it. And networking never ends, right? I've definitely had to ramp mine up in the past 2 years since I moved, but I also don't plan on stopping. In this month alone, I've already had 5 local networking meetings, some virtual, some in person, and a few other networking contacts for like people that are not in my local area, but wanted to meet because we see similar clients or they had questions. And I know that these things can turn into a variety of opportunities. So I'm very open to that. I definitely used to be nervous about reaching out to people. I don't know, I thought I would get no response, or they'd say something like, "Who do you think you are?" I mean, I knew that would never happen, but there was a part of me that feared that someone would say, "Who do you think you are to want to talk to me?" And sometimes people will say no or not reply, and that's all right. That's not the end of the world. But a lot of times people say yes. And it's honestly enjoyable for me now, which I really thought I would never say. I never thought that I would say that. I used to think I'm someone who hates networking. And then I realized I kind of had to through some coaching I did, and kind of force myself to get uncomfortable and move through that really limiting mindset. And it's been so beneficial. It does get easier and it's not optional. I think that I've seen what happens on the other side of getting through that discomfort. And that's why I encourage, not require, but kind of any therapist I work with to do this. Like, this is not optional. Okay. Hey, if someone's out there figuring out a magical way to never have to talk to a single other referral source, great, I guess. And you can bring in some intensive clients without a lot of networking, but I really think to get the kind of flow you want, if you really want to have an intensive-based practice, it's really important. Okay, so that's my pitch for why networking is important. But maybe you're dealing with that fear and you're like, how the heck do I get started on this? Well, let me introduce you to my free 5-day networking challenge. It's going to take place mid-June, all over email, and it's completely free to jumpstart your networking for intensives and help you blast through some of those mindset blocks with my support. So, the 5-day high value referrals free email challenge. It's designed to give you the exact steps and scripts. You're going to use my scripts to start building a referral network in 1 week. No social media posting, no expensive and time-consuming SEO and AIO updates required. Free, just a little bit of your time and some energy and like a little bit of courage. So there's going to be 5 days, right? Day 1, you're going to identify your targets for networking. Hot, warm, and cold. That's what I'll call them. You'll learn how to categorize your existing contacts and professional relationships to see clearly where your best referrals are going to come from and who you should invest energy in reaching out to. Day 2, we're going to create your list. You're going to get actionable. You're going to create a list of at least 3 professionals in all these different key categories that you can connect with immediately. Days 3 and 4, the scripts that work. We're going to break that awkward barrier I'm going to give you professional and warm templates to reach out to both your warm, hot, and cold leads. Cold leads are people you've never met. So you can schedule that low pressure call. We'll focus on templates that highlight your clinical value, not just a desperate plea for referrals. And on the last day, you'll have specific people that you're connecting with and the confidence to reach out, and you'll know how to speak to those people to get those referrals coming in. So this is the difference between hoping for clients and creating a client flow. Now, of course, I want to acknowledge getting some good networking relationships going is only one part of the intensive equation. Once the networking brings in a client who's ready for an intensive, then it's going to be like, okay, what now? So you may know that I have an on-demand video course. That's the same course that I give to all my coaching clients, group and one-to-one. It is over 12 hours of content, 6 modules, and it's going to address all those doubts and fill in all the gaps, right? Like the clinical gaps. How do I make a treatment plan? What structure do I even want? What happens clinically if something goes wrong? What if the pacing shifts? What if I feel like we're off, going off the path? Covers all that. Operational stuff. When a referral calls me, what do I say in that call to get them to move forward? What policies do I need and paperwork to protect myself and feel confident? How do I get my current practice schedule set up so the intensive model actually works for my life, right? And then some, okay? You'll get, if you sign up for the email challenge, an outline of what the course looks like so you know exactly what you're getting. And these are the systems and structures and more that we're going to build together in the course so you can execute confidently once you've got those referrals coming in. So if you're tired of the social media circus and you're like, I need to work on networking for my intensives, this 5-day networking email challenge is your first step. It's completely free. It's delivered directly to your email inbox starting in 2 weeks. The link is in the show notes to sign up, and you can start right away, right? And if you complete the challenge and you're ready to execute and the course sounds like a good match, at the end of the week, we're going to be running a special time-limited sale where you can save $200 on the course off of the full price of $9.99. So if you're an email course person and you finish it, you can get that $200 referral code, a discount code. All right, so that was networking today. I hope it gave you some ideas about how you can get started and why you maybe are struggling to do so. I'll talk to you all next week on episode 152. Next week's episode will be a segment of a coaching intensive that I did, a 1-to-1 90-minute coaching intensive that I did with an EMDR therapist who has just now, since we spoke together, launched her intensive offering. You'll get to hear exactly what we talked about to get her rolling. The coaching intensive happened in early May, first week of May, we worked together. And by the end of May, she'd completed her first 3-day intensive and had a waitlist going for future intensives. So next week, you're going to hear some of the details on exactly what we talked about to get her from, oh, I want to launch intensives to they're launched. So don't miss that. Thank you everyone for listening. Details in the show notes about the email challenge. I hope a lot of you sign up. I think summer is a great time for networking. Sometimes people's, therapy schedules slow down a little bit and you have more time in your calendar to make some of those meetings. So yeah, why not? Why not just give it a try? It's free. What do you have to lose? And yeah, thanks for listening to the podcast, everybody. Take care. Have a good week.